In this course, you learn how to configure the Ldap connection to provide authentication, role-based access control, and user management for IBM Cloud Pak for Security. Once you have connected an Ldap directory with your product cluster, you can add users from your Ldap directory into your Cloud Pak for Security deployment. By the end of this course, you will be able to summarize the prerequisites for configuring Ldap, and explain how to configure the Ldap directory. Prior to installation, there are a few prerequisites that you need to complete. First, keep in mind that only the following Ldap types are supported: IBM Tivoli Directory Server, IBM Lotus Domino, IBM SecureWay Directory Server, Novell eDirectory, Sun Java System Directory Server, Netscape Directory Server, Microsoft Active Directory, and Custom. It is important to verify that the Ldap you intend to use is on this list to ensure that it will work properly. You also need to configure at least one identity provider. The admin user ID represents the initial user who can log in and add other users. Use the password that you specify for this user when you configure the identity provider. The admin user ID that you provide for installation must exist in an identity provider. The initial user and all other users must have an email address in the Ldap directory. The email addresses must be stored in the Ldap mail attribute. If a user is added without an email address, they will run into some issues accessing CP4S. Also, pro tip: do not add a user with the username admin to your identity provider, regardless of which one ends up being used. This will cause issues with other services on the cluster. And finally, install the cluster. Once the cluster is installed, the admin username, password, and URL can be retrieved. Further instructions on this process are provided in the Login to Admin Platform course in this unit. Once the prerequisites have been addressed, move on to the configuration process. To start, log on to the IBM Cloud Pak console. Do this by using the URL, username, and password that were retrieved previously. From the navigation menu in the top left, click Identity and Access, followed by Identity Providers. Click New Connection. This brings up the new Ldap server connection page. Enter the following details to set up your Ldap connection. Start with your connection name. This is a unique name for the Ldap connection, followed by the server type. This is a list of directory server types to which you can connect. Select one from the list. Next, enter your Ldap authentication information. This includes the base DN, which is a distinguished name of the search base, as well as a bind DN. This is the user who is allowed to search the base DN. This parameter is optional. If no user is specified, the Ldap connection is established without authentication. And the bind DN password. This is the password of the user who is mentioned in the bind DN. This parameter is not required if you do not specify a user in the bind DN. Next, enter the server URL for your connection. This is the Ldap directory domain name or IP address and the Ldap port number. And finally, enter information about the search filters. There are some default settings for the Ldap filters that you can use, but those are not covered in this course. For more information, you can refer to the documentation here. There are several different types of filters that can be used. This includes the group filter, which is the clause for searching groups, the group ID map, which is the filter to map a group name to an Ldap entry, the group member ID map, which is the filter to map a user to a group, the user filter, which is the filter clause for searching users, and the user ID map, which is the filter to map a username to an Ldap entry. Once all of these settings are configured, click Create. Your Clawback for Security is now connected with your Ldap directory. This concludes this course on configuring Ldap for use with Clawback for Security.